everybody, welcome back to the channel, the main event here. And I want to talk about Series 2, the new rules announced, the new Pokemon that'll be added to the series, and what it means for some Pokemon that are already in the series. So we're going to get right into it. Series 2 will be running from February 1st to March 31st, which is about 2 months, so there might be another rule change in March. But yeah, it starts next month, so we have actually a little bit less than a month. We're already January 6th here. The rules set for doubles and singles are going to be the same, where they just restrict it to about the Pokedex. But that's the only actual restriction, right? So if you go through here and you see the banned Pokemon list, Charizard, Meowth, Wooper, Quagsire, Cinderace, Berserker, the Ruinous Legends, and Karate and Miraidon. So as you can see, what's missing from here is basically the Paradox Pokemon. Because they will be allowed in the next series. And not only will they be allowed, but there's nothing here that says that there's like a restriction to them, right? So like if you wanted to run 6 Paradox Pokemon, apparently it looks like you can. So what are the Paradox Pokemon? They're basically the future and past forms of some Pokemon that we already have. They're very powerful. They all have either photosynthesis or Quark Drive. Quark Drive activates in electric terrain or with booster energy. Photosynthesis activates in sun or with booster energy, and it raises the Pokemon's highest stat by 1 stage. So for example, if you were just running a Great Tusk with nothing changed, well, you'd have to change it because these stats are equal, the attack and defense. However, if you had a little bit higher attack, it would raise that. If you were like Jolly, I believe you could actually raise the speed. I'm not sure. I have to do the math on that. Because the Paradox are built in a way where you can't like abuse their booster energy to raise like a stat the game doesn't intend to raise. For example, I don't think there's any way to get like Brute Bonnet's booster energy speed boost because it's like attack stat is too high. I'm pretty sure. But we'll test that in the video. Actually, we'll check. So yeah. And I want to talk about like how much I think each of these mods will be used, not in like great detail, but just based on like an overview of them. So Great Tusk I think is going to get a lot of usage. Not like top 5 or anything. But it has like great stats, right? It has really good, like really decent speed. I can't say really good, really decent speed, right? Decent speed for a Pokemon this bulky. 115 HP stat, 131 defense stat is really great bulk. Special defense leaves a little bit to be desired. Yes, let me make sure you guys can see that. Leaves a little bit to be desired with 53, but you can invest in it. You can put in a Assault Vest. There's ways around it. But overall, it has like better bulk than Dondozo before the boost, of course, but like just baseline to baseline has better bulk than Dondozo. Dondozo is pretty bulky on its own. Plus, it has like an ability to raise its stats even more without needing a separate Pokemon. So I think just because of that, it'll have some usage. Brute Bonnet will have some really good usage too. It's basically the same thing as a Moongus, except it can actually hit stuff. Has an attack stat of 127, and I'm pretty sure the stats across the board are all better than a Moongus's. Speed is debatable because the 55 speed stat is faster, but you have to debate whether or not you want it to be faster or not. But I guess like Sucker Punch, which is a really good dark type move. Something that a Moongus is lacking is damage, and this thing has damage, but also gets like Pollen Puff that a Moongus gets. We'll go into that more a little bit later. Sandy Shocks will get used for fun, like people will try to use it, but it's not much better than like most normal Pokemon. It has decent bulk, 85 HP, 97 defense, and 85 special defense. That's actually pretty good bulk. But it does have a actually, is it weak to ground or is it neutral? I think it's actually, I have to double check that if ground resists ground. Decent speed, 101, faster than all the base 100 Pokemon, but it's slower than like some of the other Paradox mons. Slower than some Pokemon we already have in the format, like Garchomp. So like this thing kind of gets walled by Garchomp a little bit, for example. So I think it'll get used for just for enjoyment purposes. I don't think it's gonna be like something that's winning tournaments necessarily, unless people are just putting it for some kind of niche that I'm not aware about. Screamtail's usage is going to be through the roof. So I actually want to go to another screen real quick. Screamtail is going to go through the roof because its kit is actually insane. So I'm just going to go ahead and type in like status, right, just to show the status moves it gets. It's like Baton Pass. I know it's not normally using doubles, but it gets bulk up and Calm Mind. It also gets photosynthesis. So like photosynthesis is more than likely going to be increasing its like special defense, unless you're running at max speed, of course, but special defense or defense, depending on how you invest. You can get a bulk up or a Calm Mind, Baton Pass that to a teammate who could use the bulk. And it's a fast baton user because it's 111 speed, right? So that is one thing. This fast disable user, Encore user, same base speed as mouse hold, and Encore with mouse hold is pretty strong, so I don't see why it's not going to be strong here, especially on a bulkier Pokemon. Fast fake tears user, helping hand user, fast light screen user, perish song user, obviously protect, fast reflect user, rest sleep talk sets, stealth rock is more singles ability, substitute, fast substitute user, you can get that off before you get hit, fast thunder waver, fast trickmon, fast wishmon, and then you go to the what Pokemon Showdown considers the useless moves. Endure is really good. Raise the user and allies attack stat by 1 with Howl. Yeah, it's not for you, but like raising your partner's attack stat while your partner doesn't have to set it up itself is always going to be good. Imprison, it gets Trick Room in here too, spoiler alert. So Imprison, Trick Room user. Misty Terrain is probably not going to get used much. Fast Noble Roar lowers the target's attack and special attack by 1 stage. That doesn't seem useless to me. Taiki Terrain user, it also sets up like every single weather. So it has Rain Dance, Sandstorm, Snowscape, and Sunny Day. What does it need all 4 weathers for? And it's a fast weather setup, base 111. So potentially, if you really wanted to, you could invest all the way in your speed and just give it the photosynthesis booster energy boost, raise that by 1 stage, and just set up your weather for teammates, especially like Sunny Day, where like it'll boost other photosynthesis mons. That's interesting. Fast scary face user, lower the opponent's speed. Fast sing user, put them to sleep. There's just a lot of things this thing can do, and it's actually insane. And this thing is going to win a tournament at some point. I know that it's going to win a tournament because it's so strong. Where we at? Fluttermane is also another contender for winning a tournament. It's just 135 speed, which is faster than everything that will be available in the format except Dragapult and Iron Bundle. But Fluttermane will be faster than all of that. Fluttermane also was a special attacker with very special bulk, and we know that most people consider special bulk to be more valuable than physical bulk just because there are ways to mitigate the defensive liabilities. With Intimidate, Burns, Reflect, Baby Doll Eyes, Charmed, there's so many moves that deal with physical damage that it's sometimes you can skate with the low physical defense. It also this is probably gonna be like one of the most used Pokemon in the format, at least to start. If it stays that way, we'll see, but to start, it'll probably be the most used Paradox Pokemon for sure. Slitherwing's probably not going to get used that much. Again, it's something that people will use in niche situations, probably use because they enjoy it. It is a really cute design. People will use it for fun. It's not going to like be top 5 in usage by any means. Not like something like Fluttermane. A mon that is in contention for like top 5 usage is Roaring Moon. And I know that probably looks odd because it has the Dark Dragon typing, which is 4 times weak to Fairy, which is in Fluttermane is going to be up there in usage. But that's what Terrestrializing for. People are going to Terra Steel this thing. Which would be a bit of an issue because you're getting a ground weakness, but I think this thing is so fast and so strong overall, and it's also especially bulky, and its defense stat is not good. It's like okay, right, which is fine, right, because you can deal with that. You have good special bulk and you have good HP and you have a great attack stat and you have wonderful speed and you have booster energy to boost either your attack or your speed stat. And it gets pretty good coverage move. I think it's Iron Head, so you don't have to run Terra Blast if you Terra Steel it. It's just a really great Pokemon, and you'll see that it probably does also have really good contention to win a tournament during that 2-month span that it's starting its legality. Iron Treads is interesting. Not as high of an attack stat as the other mons. It's not as high in the speed. And even like Great Tusk has better bulk. Yeah, the special defense a little bit better, but not enough to justify using it over really Great Tusk, because Great Tusk is just better overall. Yeah, it's a little bit faster, but I don't know how much it matters when like the other mons like Roaring Moon and Fluttermane and Iron Bundle are all faster. Even Iron Moth is faster. 106 is good, and people will be able to find ways to use this thing, don't get me wrong, because it is a good Pokemon. Just compared to the other Paradox Pokemon, I don't see it shooting up to like top 5, top 10 usage at all. Iron Moth is a bit of an interesting one because it has a great special attack stat and it has a really good speed stat, and it also like quad resist Fairy, so Iron Moth might get really high usage just off the nature that it's probably your best way to counter Fluttermane. As far as the Paradox Pokemon are concerned, probably your best way to counter Fluttermane. And Fluttermanes will probably Terra Fire, so if they do run like a coverage move for their Terra type, it'll probably be Fire, which you also resist. So I think Iron Moth is going to have really good usage, better than it otherwise would have if something like Fluttermane did not exist. Iron Hands is going to get a lot of usage to start because I think having basically more stats Hariyama, I think I want to say. I think it has better defenses, and it has a better special defense, has better HP. I don't remember if it has better HP. Let's double check that right now. What is Hari's HP stat? Oh, it does have better HP than Hari. It definitely has better defense, special defense for sure. Yeah, has way better bulk then. So yeah, so just by the nature of it having better bulk and then having like Cork Drive to boost its massive attack stat, you can run it basically the same way as Hariyama. Fake out, Trick Room, and then just start blowing stuff up. Iron Jugglist is solid. I don't see it winning like a bunch of tournaments, and I don't see it being like top 5 in the usage rates, just because something like Roaring Moon with the faster speed and its attack stat is better than this thing's special defense stat, and its bulk is better. Just overall makes it probably a more usable Pokemon. This thing probably also wants to do something like Terra Steel, but it doesn't have Levitate like Hydreigon. To mitigate that, I think it'll be used enough. It is a strong Pokemon. Like it's better than like a lot of regular Pokemon, but it's not as good as some of the paradoxes. So I think it'll get used some, but just not something that, like, if you're not prepared for Iron Jugglist, you're not gonna auto lose into it basically. Iron Thorns is very interesting because it has really good bulk, really good attack. 100 attack stat, 110 defenses here. Decent speed, decent special defense, but I think it might be, it's funny because its best way to probably use it would probably be next to something like Tyranitar, the paradox, the mon that it's a paradox of, because you can bolster, because you have that 110 defense and that 100 HP. 84 special defense will go up by 1 stage, which is like 122, I believe, or something like that. Something right. If my math is wrong, I'm sorry. But yeah, so like in Sand, because you are rock type, you'll get the boost, and you will basically be able to have incredible bulk across the board and a great attack stat to boot. That you'll probably have a +1 in with booster energy, and you are 4 times weak to ground. But with you probably just Terra Rock and use your HP and defense to deal with ground type moves pretty well. I don't know if it gets coverage though to hit ground type, so that is something to look out for. I don't see its usage being anywhere near the top 5 or top 10, but I do think there will be some teams that try to give it a shot just to see if it's fun to play. Iron Bundle is a mod that I do expect to have top 5 usage in Series 2. Just because it's the fastest Paradox mod. And it gets Icy Wind, right? Before you even get into anything else, it outspeeds Fluttermane and it can slow it down, right? Those are going to be really important this series. So because it's faster than Fluttermane and can slow it down, Iron Bundle is going to get usage just for that reason alone. Also, water helps mitigate a lot of the weaknesses that ice has. Like, for example, instead of steel being a weakness, it's a neutrality. And you can always Terra Water and make it a resistance, right? Completely. Has really good speed, really good special attack. Its defensive bulk is actually really nice. HP is not great and its special defense is not great, but this thing is meant to just kind of like be fast and do things for your team. For example, like Icy Wind to slow them down. It gets Chilling Water to lower opponents' attack stat, which is kind of helps buffer its defense stat even more. It has Blizzards, which are going to be very strong. So there are ways to deal with this. Also, Ice types get a defense buff from Snowstorm now. Your special defense stat is going to be lacking, but you can't make these mons perfect, right? You can't make them perfect. Iron Valiant, if it was like not for Iron Bundle, Fluttermane, and Roaring Moon, this thing I feel it would be a contender for top 5 usage because it has a great speed stat, great attack stat, great special attack stat, right? What this means is basically it's something that it's hard to prepare for because you don't know what set it's going to run, because it gets like good special fairy moves. It gets like, I want to say it gets like Spirit Break and also Moon Blast, right? I think it gets Aura Spear and it also gets like Sacred Sword. I'm not sure, but like it gets coverage for both types and it has a good damage dealing stat in both types. Let me move that up for you guys so you can see it. So yeah, 116 base stat, 120 special attack, 130 attack. Really good stuff. It would be in contention, and it's also another good fairy type because right now dark types and dragon types are really strong. Also Goldango is really strong though, so I think adding a couple good fairy types like Iron Valiant and Fluttermane will be good for the game because yeah, it'll make Goldango a little bit better. But in turn, the dark and the dragon types aren't just like oppressing everything. But because like Goldango is good into the fairy types and like Garchomp is good into like Goldango, or like the dark types are good into Goldango, I think it creates a nice synergy where like you aren't really auto losing to anything in particular as long as your team is built in a balanced way. It makes the matchups more intriguing for me. Not to mention just adding what? How many mons are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 new mons into the game. Really helps diversify it a little bit because right now, at least in my only in my personal opinion, the dex feels a little bit small. I feel like you're basically running Annihilate, Goldengo, Garchomp, Murkrow, Dondozo, Mousehold, Meowscarada, and like something else ish, but like it feels very top heavy. So I feel like it would have gotten stale really quickly. It was getting a little bit stale to me personally. I gotta be honest here, but yeah. So I think adding some other mons here will help a lot. So now I also want to actually go into the mons that are currently in the top of usage. So everything is going to drop, right? Everything's going to drop in usage. Meowscarada is going to drop, Goldengo is going to drop, just by the nature of there being more viable mons able to use. So everything's going to lose a little bit. 40% is insane, though. By the way, that's actually nuts. That's actually incredibly high. Goldengo probably will lower a little bit. Sylveon, I think, takes a big drop just because you have two faster fairy types coming. And Sylveon's issue is that it's a bit slow by comparison, but I think with Fluttermane coming, it's going to take Sylveon's place. It may even have higher than 28% to be honest, but I think it'll take Sylveon's place and lose some of its usage. Annihilate will also drop a little bit, but not like incredibly high. Especially it's just like the Terra Fire, and that's just good into fairies. So I think it'll still have good usage. It just won't be as high as it normally is. Like I said, everything's gonna drop. Dondozo is probably gonna keep some good usage, but I think Tatsugiri is actually gonna drop. I think people are gonna recognize that using Dondozo as a bulky Pokemon next to one of your really strong Paradox Mons is probably gonna be better than like putting Dondozo in 2v1s versus two Paradox Pokemon. That's just my opinion. Hydreigon shouldn't lose that much usage just because it's kind of better than Iron Dragulus. It's slower, but I think Levitate is just a really good ability for it, especially because the types that you want to tear it into, Steel and Fire, for example, or even Poison to get rid of those the Dragon weakness, the Fairy type weakness, especially with like the two strong fairies joining the game. I think that Hydreigon being able to tear into those types and then also not be weak to ground gives it the leg up on Iron Dragulus. Amoonguss will drop a little bit as well, just because, like I said, Brute Bonnet is pretty much it, just a little bit better. Let me go over to it. But like, as you type this in, like it gets Spore, Rage Powder, Pollen Puff, Protect, gets Clear Smog as well. It gets like everything it needs to, but also gets like Dark Pulse, Earth Power, and its special attack is like decent, right? Its attack is really good. I'm pretty sure. Does it get Close Combat? It gets Close Combat. It gets Sucker Punch. What are the Dark type moves that it get? The reason though that I say that Amoonguss will still get used is because it gets Crunch. This thing does have the Grass Dark typing, and it does make it weak to fairies, whereas Amoonguss resists fairies because it's poison. So I think Amoonguss will still get a lot of play just because of its typing. And like, yeah, I know you guys are thinking, well, you could just Terra type it. But if you don't have to Terra type something, it's an advantage because you can save it for something else that really wants to Terra. So I think Amoonguss having the Grass Poison typing will keep its usage up. May even go up, to be honest with you. Brute Bonnet probably won't just like knock it off the charts. So that's a good thing for Amoonguss. But like the fact that you can actually run both of them on one team if you wanted to is actually pretty insane. Let's see. Murkrow will probably still keep... Murkrow usage is going to be strange because it's really high right now, and I don't think it's going to drop. It might even go up because Tailwind is going to be important for those booster energy speed boosts. Not to mention you can haze away those booster energy boosts, right? So Murkrow might actually see some increase in play. Garchomp might take a little bit of a drop at the beginning with all the Fluttermane, but then it'll probably pick back up once people start using their steel types to counter Fluttermane. Mousehold is interesting. Armor will still be around because we don't have a lot of fire types, and fire types are just fairy. Kingambit will still be around. Grimmsnarl is interesting because, like I said, screens could be valuable, but I don't think it's gonna shoot up or down. It might just stay where it's at. Arcanine, I think Arcanine is going to shoot up because it resists fairy, because it resists steel, and because it can intimidate those ground type Pokemon and intimidate those dragons like Roaring Moon if they're not running a clear amulet, of course. But like Intimidate, Snarl, Assault Vest kind of like sets, I think will be really popular because right now, next series, stat drops are going to be very, very important. Like I said, because booster energy is going to be everywhere. And you need to be able to resist Fairy and Steel primarily because that's going to be all over. And Fire does both of those things. The rest of these mons are probably just going to drop a few percentage points. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on like Series 2, the Paradox mons, and the Pokemon that are pretty good right now, Series 1, and what'll happen to them in Series 2. If you disagree with anything I've said in the video, let me know in the comments below. If you agree with what I've said in the video, let me know in the comments below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.